All right, let's talk about one of the most iconic landmarks in all of South America, that towering pillar of white stone that just is the skyline of Buenos Aires. We're talking, of course, about the Obelisco. So get this, 31 days. That's it. That's how long it took to build this absolute monster of a monument. 31 days. I mean, think about that. That's barely a month for something that would literally define a city for almost a century. Just an incredible feat of engineering, especially back in 1936.
But, as fast as it went up, its journey from being this controversial block of concrete to becoming the absolute soul of Buenos Aires, well, that was anything but fast. And that's the story we're going to get into.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Where did this thing even come from? Why was it built?
Well, it all started with a birthday party, a really, really big one. The city was turning 400 years old, celebrating the anniversary of its very first founding. And what better way to mark the occasion than with basically the world's biggest birthday candle? The man behind the design was Alberto Prebisch, who was a huge deal in Argentine modernism. And the location he picked, I mean, come on, it's absolutely perfect. It's right there at the intersection of two legendary avenues, Avenida Corrientes, the street that never sleeps, and the absolutely massive Avenida 9 de Julio. And this thing isn't just a monument, it's like a history book carved in stone. Seriously, each one of its four sides tells a different, crucial part of the city's story. So you've got the north face, marking when the national flag was first raised there. The east face commemorates the very first founding of the city back in 1536. The south face, that's for the second, and this time permanent, founding in 1580. And finally, the west face celebrates Buenos Aires becoming the nation's capital in 1880. It's literally the entire origin story of the city all right there on one giant pillar. But like I said, this icon, it wasn't always so loved. Oh no. For a while there, it was probably the most hated thing in the entire city. And that's where its story gets really interesting. The trouble started before they even broke ground. See, to build the obelisk, they had to tear down a historic church. And not just any church. This was the Church of St. Nicholas of Bari, the exact spot where the Argentinian flag was raised for the very first time. Yeah, you can imagine that didn't go over too well. The backlash was so huge that just 3 years, after it was built, the city council actually voted to demolish it. They cited all these reasons. It was an eyesore, it was unsafe, it was a waste of money. The city's future icon was this close to ending up as a pile of rubble. But then, in this amazing twist, the mayor stepped in. He used his veto power and canceled the demolition order. Just like that. One signature saved the obelisk and, without knowing it, saved the future heart of the city. And thank goodness for that, right? Because that thing everyone used to hate, it completely transformed into the nation's #1 gathering spot. I mean, just look at this. When Argentina won the World Cup in 2022, an estimated 5 million people poured into the streets around the obelisk to celebrate. 5 million? That's just an unbelievable sea of humanity. And the obelisk was right there at the center of it all, like an anchor.
And its resume as a public stage is just insane. It's been the backdrop for everything. Massive, intense political demonstrations? Check. A legendary free concert by the rock god Soda Stereo? Check. The opening ceremony for the Youth Olympics? Yep. And even, get this, a bizarre gathering of hundreds of people dressed as Spider-Man trying to break a world record. Pretty much if something important or just plain weird is happening in Argentina, it's happening right here.
Of course, you can't really talk about the obelisk without talking about its massive stage, the place where all this happens, the Avenida 9 de Julio. This avenue is huge. It's what makes those giant gatherings possible. And yeah, there's always this debate about whether it's the widest avenue in the world. Technically, there's one in Brasilia that's wider overall. But here's the thing. Guinness World Records actually gives the official title to 9 de Julio because it's considered the widest single avenue. So there you have it. And just like the obelisk, the avenue had a pretty rough start too. A lot of historic buildings had to be torn down to make way for it. But it's also constantly evolved. In 2013, they did this huge redesign to add bus lanes and make it more friendly for people, not just cars. It really helped to make sure the obelisk feels like the center of the city, not just some monument stuck in the middle of a highway. Okay, and here's a little secret, a super quirky detail hidden in plain sight. If you're ever there, look up at the buildings along the avenue. You're gonna see something that makes no sense. A tiny little Swiss-style chalet sitting on top of a 9-story building. The story goes that a furniture store owner built it back in the 20s just so he had a quiet spot to take his siesta. How cool is that? And all of this brings us to today, where the obelisk isn't just some old, static monument anymore. It's really become a living, breathing canvas for the entire city. It's been transformed in so many wild ways. For World AIDS Day, they covered it with a giant pink condom, a huge statement. An artist named Leander Ehrlich pulled off this amazing trick that made it look like the tip had completely vanished. And just recently, it was lit up in purple to celebrate an esports team, 9Z, making it to a world championship. I mean, that just shows how it's still so relevant, even to a whole new generation.
And the evolution isn't stopping. Right now, they're actually building an elevator and a public observation deck. So for the first time ever, that incredible view from the top, which you used to have to climb a 206-step ladder to see, is going to be open to everyone. It's kind of the final step in making it a truly public icon.
So you think about its journey from this hated slab of concrete to a national treasure, from a silent monument to this living, changing canvas. It really makes you wonder, right? As this landmark keeps evolving, what story is the obelisk going to tell next?